This is from last week. Have you guys seen this?
I saw the picture.
Joe Biden Photoshop himself into an Easter family photo. Okay, there's no question. This image that they posted, Joe Biden shared this photo yesterday, Easter Monday, but not everyone is convinced he was really there. I don't know if you saw this. Okay, Joe ain't there. I'm sorry. That is not a real photograph, right?
I mean, probably
How would he
not.
be sitting?
That I will tell you, there's no way Joe Biden is there. Where are his legs? How is he? So for those that are just listening, there's this photo of everybody and they're wearing casual Easter Monday clothing. Joe's in a blue suit, squinting in the back, but he's appears to be standing up. Like, yo, where's his arm going? Like, come on. Everybody sitting down has their arms on their knees. 100% of these people. But Joe Biden in the back, his arms are straight down at his sides. He's not. There's no way he's standing up because these people in front are sitting down. Look at this. Where is he?
And as someone who does a lot of Photoshop, it doesn't even look that good. When you look at the lighting on people's faces, it's not quite working for what they have going on here. The shadows would fall differently.
Oh, yeah.
It's like look at all the faces and then look at his. Why do all of them look so much different than his? And it looks like the photo's being taken from a different angle versus we should be looking up at him. And that's not the position of that photo.
That's a good point.
I mean,
he's like leaning down with his arm. He's like leaning down. He's sitting like this with his arms at the side.
But people aren't paying attention. They'll just scroll past it. They scroll past all the AI stuff every day. And they're like, oh, look at that. That's a cute dog that's playing. It's like, no, Grandma, that's AI. But so many.
Look at this. Look, there's like 4 fingers popping up behind this dude's neck. Like, where's his arm? He's like this. Joe Biden's sitting like this. His arm goes straight down to the side, but then what's he doing?
I find it difficult to imagine him sitting down like that. He's not exactly. It would take. He definitely would need help getting up. He's not gonna, So
his weird clothes. Yeah, so weird.
Yeah.
Okay, look.
Weird.
I get it. People, I talk to people, I have family members, and they're like, we don't care about Joe Biden anymore. He's not the president. And I'm like, fair point. The only thing to consider is that if he auto-penned those pardons, then they may be, there's an argument, a court challenge, they may be void because auto-pen ain't for pardons. I don't think auto-pen is for anything, but this right here is funny. Okay, he's not in office anymore. Why did they do this? I don't get it.
I have no idea.
Anyway, look, the point is, this is emblematic of the entire Biden presidency. It was fake. There's no way that's a real photo. I mean, I suppose someone could easily just find this clip to figure out where it came from. Usually they do. Do you guys remember when?
I think they did, by the way.
They found where it came from?
I think I saw the picture of where it came from.
That's hilarious.
Maybe I can find it on X.
He was like in another country walking. He was in the same outfit.
Well, and really, that's what the Democrats like to do. It's smoke and mirrors. You can make it look like, and it wasn't until that debate that's where at least the leftists that I knew, that's when they really started saying something. They're like, whoa. They're like, this is a problem. And to be honest, I even feel a little bit bad for the Democrats that they decided to just slide Kamala Harris in there. And they never even had a chance to have a primary or anything. Because I don't think Kamala Harris would have been the pick because she did not do well the first time she ran for president. And I think just since she was VP, they're like, oh, well, we'll put her in. And that's not really even fair to the democratic process.
I
didn't even notice the cat was there at first. You see the cat?
Oh.
Where?
There's a cat right there.
Oh, above that lady's head.
Yeah, so people are pointing out, I looked it up real quick, the photo of Biden in the suit, it's the suit he wore relatively often as president.
Yeah.
I doubt he's wearing the same suit now. But again, this is what the Democratic Party is. Do you guys remember when Kate Middleton had that photoshopped image?
Yeah, because of her cancer and she was hiding from...
Something like that. And then people found the photo came from the cover of a magazine or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, look, can I just point out, was it FDR had polio and they covered that up?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think's going on with Joe Biden? They're going to cover it up. Of course they're going to cover it up. They're going to lie about everything. The question then becomes, who was actually doing all of these things? Because we know it wasn't him.
No, I mean, I assume that it would be mostly his chief of staff, whoever that was, actually doing the day to day. But the rest of, like, the decisions were made by committee. You know, they like the I imagine his advisors all got together and they discussed, this is what we should do, et cetera, and it was not an individual person, which is a terrible, terrible thing, because then you can't actually lay the blame on one person. That's why it's important to have an executive, so that way if things go wrong, you can say it's your effing fault. You know, who was it that had the sign on his desk that said the buck stops here? It wasn't Truman? I think it was Truman. So, and the point of that was, he's the guy that's ultimately responsible, and that's what the president's supposed to be. And when you have a committee or a group of advisors making the decisions, you can't actually punish someone for making a bad decision.
And then we saw the White House Correspondents Association, where, who was it, Alex Thompson, is that what it was?
Yep.
From Axios, was like, we really missed this one, guys, and we lost the trust of the American people because of it. The headline's going to be, a journalist, issues scathing rebuke of the failure of the media to catch the story about Biden's decline, because they are once again doing the exact same thing. These people are smarmy, evil pieces of garbage.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They lied to us the whole time. They gaslit the American people at Joe Biden's health. And then when caught, they're once again gaslighting, saying, wow, how did we miss this one? No, I don't buy it for a second. And so when I go to the White House and I point out, you don't have an independent White House Correspondents Association. You have one company. The White House Correspondents Association might as well be one company with 50 chairs, because they go in, they ask generic and obvious questions that everybody already knows the answers to, or are meant to go viral, to just argue with Carolyn Levitt or whoever the press secretary is going to be at the time. And then they all report the exact same things. And you know how they coordinate it? They have group chats called journo lists. They've been doing this since the advent of social media. I used to be in one. I was in a couple of them. So back when I was working for Vice Infusion, you get an invite from someone on Facebook and they're like, hey, we have a group chat. You join it. And what they don't realize is, it may seem innocent at first, but then they unify all of their talking points and their worldview solidifies in their own psychotic schizoid bubble of journalists. Then every single media outlet from small to large reports the exact same things.
The White House Correspondents Association is not only complicit in covering up for Joe Biden, I think they actually manufactured the cover-up in totality, because they had access to covering him. They had pool access. They were the people managing all of that. And the White House Correspondents Association, I think at this point, might even be beyond reform. And I think we should also anticipate a few of these losers down the line writing the book of, oh, Joe Biden was obviously senile the whole time. And like they'll have their reports on it, but they just want their New York Times best-selling books down the line in a decade or two, when they're able to write about what they saw, but didn't want to report on. They're going to wait a little bit more time until Joe Biden passes. They don't want to harm the party as much.
There's already books being released.
But even more. We're going to see everybody spill the beans. I think all of them, again, like there was a large pool of people who knew the condition of Joe Biden. They manufactured the cover-up here. Even they did such a good job that I actually think they had a lot of other Democrats fooled. Frankly.
Well, and as a conservative, as someone who, didn't want Joe Biden as my president, I still want a competent president. I don't want the commander-in-chief to be a bumbling old man that can't function and can't do his job. I would have much rather have him been competent. That's not the story I want there to be, but that's where we are.
You're probably right, but I am torn a little bit, because Joe Biden's evil. And if he was competent and evil, I might be worried about the things he could have accomplished. But then I guess the inverse is, he's incompetent and evil, so his evil handlers just did it for him either way.
Incompetent evil, that sounds a lot like the government.
Yeah, maybe Joe Biden was just the apex of it. He represents the government. Next to government in the dictionary, you'll find his name.
And I mean, not to continue harping on the White House Correspondents Association, but I
Please
just
do.
can't
They
stop
deserve
thinking
it.
about like the double standards too. So right now, right, the worst thing that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had was the Signalgate scandal, right? But Secretary Lloyd Austin, this was Joe Biden's Secretary of Defense. He literally went under anesthesia. He wasn't awake, and nobody knew that he wasn't awake. The president didn't know that he went under. So if something were to happen, we didn't have somebody who was the head of the military at that time. The media didn't bother pushing back on this hard enough. Nobody was calling for him to resign. But over scandals like whatever Pete Hegseth might get into, they'll immediately call for his resignation. They'll go down the line in the press briefing room and harp on this. Every single person who gets called on will bring this up. Even Fox News oftentimes in the press briefing rooms. But for when Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has his scandals, nobody cares. None of Joe Biden's scandals, nobody cares.
No, well,
So,
it doesn't matter if any Americans care. The only thing that matters is that the Democrat establishment, which includes the media, refuses to talk about it. So because they refuse to talk about it, the people feel like, well, what can we do?
all of the White House Correspondents Association's accusations against new media are really just telling on themselves. Everything they accuse us new media people of doing, they were doing during the previous administration. And I don't even think the new media people are as biased as people are, as the mainstream media are, and White House Correspondents Association is trying to make them out to be. But the White House Correspondents Association is everything that they say the new media is.
Absolutely.
And what a sad state of media that this is where we are at in this, current time, where you have narratives that are being pushed and people aren't just doing independent research. Because even if you're a Democrat, you're a liberal, you have a complete different view than me, well, please just try to be a good journalist. But that's not.
Well, they're pushing advocacy journalism. Every single week, there's a new fake news immigration story. So, Tim, it's funny you're still bringing up the Maryland man hoax, because this week's hoax is the 2-year-old American citizen deported hoax, where it was an older woman who came in this country illegally for decades, was being deported, and she chose to take her 2-year-old American daughter with her. But they're saying, oh no, they're deporting the 2-year-old American citizen. That's this week's immigration hoax.
I believe, was it Thomas Jefferson who said a man who reads nothing is better informed than a man who reads the newspaper? Yeah. I could be wrong. I don't know if that was him. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.